Hey everyone, in this video I will be showing what I call the advanced decal editor. Typically, what you do for the decal editor that they're adding to Beam is you come here into the garage, you click on decals, click on yes because it's still work in progress, create new, and then this is what you get. You've got your fill layer, which can either be a specific color or you can set it to a slot, like a palette slot, so you can choose a color while you're configuring. And then your base color can change depending on preferences and so on. But with the decals, you can only change the size, the color, and the shape. You can't mirror it, you can't assign it to a palette or anything. So, instead of going into the garage and then going to this editor, I'm going to load into an actual map and do it there. So let's go to West Coast and go to the service station. So it's kind of like normal career mode, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that I'm in a normal map, I'm going to grab my track Covette because I want to remake the old livery that I had for my racing configuration. My hard drives are still on the other side of the country, so I don't have most of the stuff I was working on. So I'm going to come over here and angle it so that the sun is shining on the side nicely, and then shut off the engine. Excuse me. Now, what we're going to do is press F11, or whatever button you have the world editor bound to, and then in the main toolbar, in the third section, fourth icon, is Vehicle Livery Creator. And it's still not working properly. It's supposed to have more icons for it. Okay, so I'm going to add a fill layer. Normally there's like a big window over here and a couple other windows. So I'm going to add a fill layer, which, as I mentioned, is the base color. I believe is 0 is going to be whatever forced color you choose. 1 is palette 1, palette 2, and palette 3. So I'm going to go with palette 1. So that way it chooses whatever color is on that palette. That's a texture fill layer. So that's basically, you choose, oh, there we go. Now some of the things are popping up the way they need to be. So this, you can choose a texture to actually fill with. So if you want like a basic camo or something, you could go to noise wavelet, or however you pronounce that. And then it'll place that as the texture. But I don't want that. Add group. See, there's supposed to be more windows. Why isn't everything showing up? There we go. Okay, so you might have to go into Window, and then down to Vehicle Livery Creator to get everything to open. Click OK on this window, because it's just, I believe it's just more of the warnings. This window here, I find isn't necessarily usable, but either way. So when you get into the normal map, go to Window, Vehicle Livery Creator, because apparently this button doesn't pull up everything. And then your page should look like this. I'm going to start completely fresh, like this. So, since there are no like textures or anything mapped to the car, it'll just turn black. So now, I want to go over to open up decal properties on this side, and then make sure that the stack and layers are open. And then I'm going to go add fill layer, add 1, and that will add our fill layer down here in the layers. I'm not good with words. People that watch my videos often will know I'm not that great with words. So, excuse me. Now that we have all the windows and stuff open, if you still have the normal like orbit camera enabled, press Shift C by default, and it'll move you into free cam. So, now we can actually put the stuff on the car. So, instead of clicking to add the thing, don't know if you can hear it, but trying to click, it's not working. To place the vinyl or the decal, you press F. It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. So, I want to make a black stripe up along the window and then down along to here. Might be easier if I, yes, okay, so you can see this little line in the body. For my paint job that I want to make, that needs to be black along there in between this line and the window. So, the thing that makes this much better is, as you can see on the side, you have your scale, rotation, flip, and everything. Here you choose the texture. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt because you have to use this window to choose it. So I want the square for now. So I'm going to go down to, or back up to S, shape, and then square. Double click and it'll switch to the square. If you want it to, if you're using a gradient, I believe this is how you change that. And then like change its colors. And then the alpha mask, I'm not exactly sure what this does. I've been playing around with it a bit, but as I changed settings in here, it didn't really change much, so I'm not going to worry about that. The nice thing about this, though, is unlike the normal decal editor, we can now mirror what we do. So if I just kind of come onto the back, you can see how it's mirroring on both sides. So anything I do on this side automatically gets put on the other side. Another thing that we can also do, which is very helpful, it makes it way better, is if we come down to the color palette ID, 0 is what it is stuck on in the normal editor. But like the fill layer now, we can choose 1, 2, or 3. So I'm going to choose number 2, so that this, instead of only being black, it can be whatever color, any color. So, another bit of a pain in the butt, something that's nice about doing this in a separate program like Paint.net or GIMP or something, is you have the net lines or whatever, the UV lines, to base off of. With this, you don't. Another thing I'm going to mention really quick is if I click off of that so I can access the car. Let me open the doors. I'll just exit out for a second. Okay, so like my hopper paint job that makes it look like Little Jeep. Oh, come on, cooperate. Can I just, deselect anything? Either way, if you, for example, don't want anything on the doors at all, nothing on the doors, just remove them from the car, and as you're doing your vinyl, it won't place anything on the doors when you add them back on, unless you reset it. So make sure you save it without the doors, and then there won't be anything placed on the doors. But either way, back to what I was doing. Let's see if I can get this to work how I want it to. So this is palette 2. I'm going to go down to the color vehicle color palette, change 2 to black, and that'll be black now. Okay, so I want this to be black. So come up here, change, unlock the ratio, and then I'm going to make that a bit smaller so that it actually cooperates with me a bit. And then another kind of annoying thing is if you turn the camera, it also rotates the vinyl. It can be a little bit helpful, a bit better than using sliders and stuff, but either way, so hard to see the line. I should remove the hood, but I want it to be below this line as well, which is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So if I go to cameras and go to right side, it might make this a bit easier. Okay, and then I'm going to back up and then rotate a tiny bit. Set to inverse. A bit too much. You can also change how you input things. So you can have the slider or a specific input, which is a bit more accurate. Go 1.5. Put in your number, hit enter. And that looks about how I want it to be. I'm going to make it a little bit longer. So, and it's still not quite the right angle, so I'm going to knock that down to 1.4. And now it's not angled enough. Make it longer. Yeah, that should be fine. And then it's too tall still, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit, like that. And then try and line it up with the body line. Like so. Oops, I clicked instead of pressing F. Even I messed that up. I'm so used to clicking being the button to paint or whatever. So now I've got that black line there, and since mirror is turned on, it's on this side as well. So now I'm going to do this. Actually, another thing I kind of recommend doing, I'm down here, we're going to add a group in the decal stack layer and call it palette 2. I know I spelled that wrong, but whatever. So now that that's palette 2, I'm going to stick that, just grab the little line thingy, and then copy it into, or move it into palette 2. So now palette 2 has all of the black stuff, or the stuff that's under that palette. I'm going to quickly try something and set this to 1 and see how well it matches the car color. And that is matching perfectly. So what I can do is set that back to 2, put my line all the way onto the front of the car. Trying to get the angle right. I might have to do this with a couple pieces. It's, like I mentioned, a bit of a pain to see where exactly everything is. But if I go like that, and then rotate the camera a little bit, I can kind of round it a little bit like the body lines are. Like so. Here we go. That kind of follows the body line. It's decent. So, now, the reason I checked the coloring is sometimes the vinyl will be a slightly different color than the actual palette. So if I go back and change this back to 1, I can now remove the black bits that I don't want from the top. However, I need to add a little bit more black because the body line comes up more than that. I should be using a circle for this. Semicircle. Since it's stretched, it should work how I want it to. Like so. There we go. And now it follows the hood or the fender along the top, but it doesn't go onto the top of the fender, at least mostly. I'm now going to go back and go to 1 and clean up the top of it. I need to make it a bit taller. So, and just angle the camera so that it covers up top where I don't want it to be. Like so. And now it's got a nice clean line. I could probably do that on the bottom as well. Back to the square. I should probably use more of a circle for this too. And then I should also shorten it. And then this can just help clean it up, but that's fine for now. I'll just leave it like that for now. So now, I'm going to mention the layers. I'm going to stick all of these into the palette too, because that's where I want them, and it's not automatically putting them there. So, layers. This first semicircle, if we go over to this one obviously selects it so that you can change its settings and so on. So if I go to 2, it should change the color, but it's not. And then you can delete it, copy and mirror, enable mask editing, which I'm not sure exactly what it does, and then this just makes it flash so you can see where it is on the card. However, if you don't like exactly where it is, if you drop it down in the layers, you can see that now one of the semicircles is now on top. So that just lets you choose what's where, basically. Alrighty, so let's grab a normal circle. Actually, I'll use a semicircle again. And then I want this on number 2. And it needs to be rotated more. So I'm going to switch back to the slider because it's a little bit easier. You can also switch back and forth in between them. So use the slider to get the rough rotation you want. And then use the input to do more of a fine tuning. And I believe you can do the same with this, but I'm not sure. No. Really? Either way. So, now that I've got that line, I'm going to try and do this circle-y part, this rounded part. So I need to bring it down. Ooh, that's way too far. So that's way too much. That's another thing. The sliders are very, very touchy. So I might have to use a few different circles. And then depending on where you highlight or hover over the vehicle, it's a little glitchy like that too. If I go like this, it should widen it a little bit. And I'm just trying to get the right spot on the body. Hard to see, especially with a little 17-inch monitor. So I'm going to go to move the camera so I can get a bit of a better view of the body. There we go. I'm going to put it right about there. There we go. Another thing is, especially if you have a controller connected, you can drive the car while you're doing this still. So I'm going to go into the garage so that it turns on the lights and see if I can view the body lines a bit better. And it looks like I can see the body lines a tiny bit better in here. So I'm going to continue painting in here like I was going to in the first place. So that is actually a little bit lower than I wanted to. So I'm going to... interesting. I'm just going to delete it. And then find a good angle again. Another thing you could also do is I'm going to change... Oh, it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but you could put a vinyl or a decal underneath in a color that shows the body lines better, and then remove it after, but it can also be a pain in the butt. Also, left alt and the scroll wheel, if you look up here in the top, it says camera speed. Left alt and the scroll wheel, change that. You can also change it here. So, let's get this back into place. It's hard to see the body lines. And I'd like to make this a little tiny bit smaller. It's a bit too small. The steps it moves in are really annoying. Shut off the engine so it's not idling and being a little annoying. But I can get this where I want it to go. Come on. Okay, how low is that? Okay. That'll go right about there. Excuse me. Okay. So, now that I've kind of explained how placing the vinyls and stuff is a lot nicer this way, and like I also mentioned, this is kind of useless. It's a good way to see it, and then it might... Yeah, there's no brushes or anything. So, this tool is kind of useless, so I just kind of leave that down there. So, now, I'm going to back out of this really quick. Oops. That's another thing. If you back out, this decal isn't permanent. I'll show that in a moment. But if I go to config and color, if I change that, now you can see it's actually on a proper layer. Whereas, excuse me, or a palette. Whereas if we did it the normal way, we couldn't do that. So I'm just going to quickly finish this stripe. Yeah, see, now you can see that that wasn't actually permanent. So I'm going to, like I just said, try and finish this one. I want it to be longer, but not too long. Wow. They really need to adjust the sensitivity of that. And then I'm going to rotate it so that I can use more of the straighter edge on the top. Go along the body line. Like so. And then I'm just going to... is that straight now? That looks like it's mostly straight now. So I'm just going to fill it out a little bit more with the rounded one. Excuse me. I'll try and edit out all my coughing and stuff. Actually, I can probably just use a straight piece now. I am, however, going to quickly add another rounded bit to the bottom because it's not quite... See, you can see right here with the lighting how it's not quite lined up how I want it to be, but it's good enough for now. I can always come back and fix it more. I'm going to rotate this more, and then just kind of fill in down here a tiny bit more. Like so. And then I'm going to, oops, that's already open. I'm going to grab this square again. And then get rid of its rotation. I'm going to shorten and stretch it. Also, the skew, see how it's the top and bottom are parallel and the sides are parallel? If I skew this, it should, yeah, make it into more like a diamond or something. But I don't want that. I'll just reset that now. Okay. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. Oops. The other one that I wanted to make smaller. If you're doing it something close to a window like this and it keeps disappearing like it was for me, just make your decal a little bit smaller and it should work. And now I want to connect the circle part to the rest of the flat part. Like so. There we go. That's the bottom part of the line. And I'm going to come up here. Do I need to rotate the decal? I might not. Excuse me, oh my goodness. I might not need to rotate the decal. I want it to be narrow and long like this. Such a pain in the butt getting it to be the right size. Because if I go any smaller, it goes to 1. Okay width, but I need it to be shorter. There we go. And then kind of line this up with the body and circles. Where is the body line? It's easier to see the body line on a different angle. Like so. I'm also a bit of a perfectionist, especially when it comes to this kind of thing. I should have put a semicircle up in the top as well to round it off at the top of the window properly. And if I didn't have the wing on it, it would be much easier. Okay, so I'm going to do this so that it kind of curves around and ends at the top of the window. I want to rotate it a little bit. And of course that rotates it the wrong way. So I need to go almost up to 360. Alright, there we go. And then I can go like this. Stick this bit right there. And then just kind of fill it in a tiny bit more, make it a bit smaller. And I should be able to... There we go. Actually, I can get rid of this layer here. And just use this one. It doesn't follow the body line perfectly just because I'm trying to do this quickly and just the way it's done. But with enough patience, you can get it to be pretty much exactly perfectly how you want it. So I need to make this a tiny bit longer, which I believe is this one. That might be a bit too long. Yeah, that's too long. Go to 325. And then place this in a spot that makes it look straight, like so. And there we go. I now have my stripe that goes along the windows and the front fender. Perfect. If I go and back out, hover off of the car so it doesn't put the weird thingy on it, and then go to color, you can now see that if I change that to green and that to white, it works properly. So yeah, I'm going to finish this car off camera, but hopefully this helps and makes making your own personal paint jobs and stuff easier. And then of course palette 3 is this one. So, yeah, like I said, hopefully this helps. If you've been using the normal decal editor and you just can't quite get it how you want to be, try out this one. And like I mentioned, this isn't quite following the body lines how I want it to, but it just takes time and a little bit of finagling and blah blah blah. So, as I already said, I'm gonna say it again because I suck at outros. I hope this helped. When I found this, I was super happy about it because I was kind of bummed that I couldn't get Little Jeep to be the right color. Actually, speaking of, that's another thing. I'll show really quickly. My other video, I did a paint job for Little Jeep, and I was sad that I couldn't make it the proper colors. But now, as you can see, you can even see the covette behind it. But doing it this way, you can actually change how metallic it is and so on. And I couldn't get the colors proper in the last video, but now, since I did it this way, once people start using the mod pack, once it's uploaded, you can actually choose what colors you want everything to be, rather than it only being blue and white. It's like Little Jeep, not Little Jeep, so it should be colorable to people's preferences. So yeah, I'm gonna end the video now. I hope this helped. I would love to see what people do, the kind of like paint jobs and stuff people manage. So if you see this video and you make a paint job you're proud of, feel free to send it to my Discord. I'll put a link to it in the description, and then in the BeamNG photos section, feel free to take a picture and send it. Just nothing inappropriate. Make sure it's like, family friendly, PG. If there's a swear word or something, I'm not too worried about it, but nothing graphic or whatever. You know what I mean. Nothing immature. So, yeah. As I've said a few times now, I suck at intros, so I hope you enjoyed. And thanks for watching.